Welcome, everyone, to the podcast. Today, I am absolutely thrilled to introduce a true visionary in the real estate world, Kevin Cahill. Kevin, it's such a pleasure to have you here. I've been so impressed by your journey from your early days with the paper route to becoming a managing broker at eXp Realty and now leading innovative ventures like Realty Funnels and Mortgage Revenue Share. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Shelley. It's such a pleasure to be with you again and to have this opportunity to share and hopefully inspire and encourage people.
Absolutely. It's all about paying it forward, right?
Absolutely.
Well, Kevin, before we dive into to your incredible story, I have to commend you on your unique approach to the real estate commission challenge. The 4% and the 3% model is truly groundbreaking, and it immediately caught my attention. It's clear that you're not afraid to disrupt the status quo, and that's something I deeply admire.
Well, thank you. It was really my wife Lisa's brainstorm. And to be completely candid, when we were first exploring an innovative approach to helping consumers, I was I had just been a managing broker with Coldwell Banker running their corporately owned offices in St. Petersburg, Florida. And that was a company that was very committed to the 6% or so model. And I was a bit cautiously concerned that, first off, would consumers really gravitate toward this innovative approach? Would real estate agents shun our listings? Would they indeed show our listings? Lisa was not at all concerned. She had no limiting beliefs at all about this model. My wife Lisa, who is a CPA, in addition to being a broker in Florida, she's been a CPA since 1993. And her whole approach was whenever one of her clients, as an accountant, she was dealing with families and high net worth individuals and trusts and partnerships and corporations. If anybody sold a piece of real estate, that single line item, that commission paid to their real estate brokerage was by far and without any exception, it was the largest single expense that they had all year.
Right.
And she felt that we could probably make some real inroads by being flexible with our fees, by being reasonable when the cases merited being reasonable with how we charge consumers.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, was she right? Since 2013, we've saved home sellers over $4.3 million in fees.
Wow. That is incredible. I saw that on your website. So, what I want to do is start at the beginning, sort of, Kevin, if you don't
Sure.
mind, and you sharing a fascinating story about your paper route at 11 years old, learning valuable sales lessons early on. Can you take us back to those formative years and tell us how the entrepreneurial spirit evolved in your impressive career in real estate and beyond?
I'm happy to share this story, and it's one of my favorite stories. I can't tell you how many people I've met over the years who similarly had a paper route when they were growing up. And it seems to be just a great, um, very early training in customer service, responsibility, doing what you said you would do, these types of formative lessons that they just end up becoming part of your DNA
It's true.
as you grow up.
That's very
And
true.
I was 10 years old and I admired this guy in my neighborhood who was a high school senior and he was my paper boy. And, so he was always dropping off the paper. And I was 10 years old and I asked him if we could just tag along. And my buddies and I would walk with him. And I would walk with him every day for, it was just on and off that I would accompany him on his paper route. Well, he was a member of the ski patrol, and so he would be traveling from Akron, Ohio to Denver, Colorado, and then up into the mountains to do some skiing in the winter. And he asked me if I would cover his paper route. And I'd been walking with him for months, so I knew the route. And so I was only 10. Well, in order to get a paper route, you needed to be at least 12. And when he was done with high school and was going off to college, I was a natural to take over the paper route, but I was too young. But my dad said, I'll make sure that Kevin does the paper route. And the paper route district manager knew that I had been helping out the paper boy. Well, I got this paper out and I realized, wow, now I'm making a lot of money as a kid. But if I got more customers, I could make even more money. So
It automatically happened.
anybody who was on my route, I would knock on their door and I would say, "Hey, my name's Kevin, and I deliver the Akron Beacon Journal, and I'm happy to give you a copy of the paper. And I'm going to give you a copy of the paper every day of the week. And if you'd like to subscribe, I'm happy to just sign you up." And I would do this to people who were not yet customers or people who were just moving into my area. And I very quickly grew that paper route, which was great. But it was so interesting that it's the same type of approach that I needed to have as a successful real estate agent.
Exactly. Isn't
And
that
just,
amazing?
it was just a very fun and exciting childhood experience where I realized, oh, you know what? I bet I could get my buddies to help me with my paper route. I'll pay them a little bit of money. I'll get the route done faster. Then we'll go and
Wow.
swim, or then we'll go and play baseball or whatever. And so I was already leveraging and delegating
Wow.
at 11.
My gosh, it was almost like you were born to do this. I
It
mean,
was
really,
it was a
that's
lot of fun.
that's an incredible trajectory, Kevin, from leading, large brokerages to building your own company in real lane and then integrating with EXP. You've seen every facet of the industry, it seems, and now with realty funnels and mortgage revenue share, you clearly focus on the next evolution of real estate and finance. So, tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, it's been a lot of fun. I began my career in Cleveland, Ohio, just after I was done with college. I started getting interested in investment real estate, and then I was enjoying that journey, but I wasn't a real estate agent yet. But I thought, I'm spending a lot of time exploring real estate. Maybe I could help some of my friends get into real estate too and make some money on that. Plus, I enjoy it. And so I got into real estate in my late 20s and very quickly just grew my real estate business. And then I became an owner of four Keller Williams Realty offices in Cleveland, Ohio, and then grew that very quickly. And it was just a lot of fun. That was a seven-level business model where, you're paid to do your own book of business as a real estate agent, but then you also receive residual income from the people that you recruited into the company.
Okay.
It was a great way for me as a real estate agent to help my friends learn about this interesting business model, which was Keller Williams Realty.
Right.
And then I got paid when they did production, and that
Wow.
was very nice for me. It was a really great way to be appreciated by the
Yes.
brokerage as I helped them grow and attract productive people.
Makes
And
sense.
nowadays, of course, we see EXP is doing
Yes.
this, Epic, Real,
I see.
LPT. Well, about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I was on a cruise to Alaska and I happened to run into a friend of mine who was also a former executive at Keller Williams Realty. We both happened to be on that cruise to Alaska together. And my wife Lisa and I had coffee with this friend of mine. His name's Rick Barnes. And Rick and I were talking about how the seven-level model is just so innovative and so effective, and yet it's not in the insurance space so much. Although I think that there are some companies like Primerica who get into that approach to growing, but we hadn't really seen it at that time in the mortgage lending space.
Right.
And we were thinking, boy, that would be a really smart way to do it. Well, it just so happened earlier this year in 2026, we partnered with a mortgage bank, a very well-regarded wholesaler that is looking to get into the direct-to-consumer approach. And they know that this seven-level model is highly effective. And so we're helping them grow out. So my friend Rick and I were like, hey, let's get the band back together. We're going to do what Keller Williams and EXP, and let's do it now with this mortgage revenue
I
share.
see.
So it's exciting. We're helping real estate agents who are doing their business, but not necessarily strictly with one lender. We're helping them
Right.
find a great lender. And then we're helping these lenders find great agents
Wow.
because so much of the effort for a loan originator is they're chasing down individual agents hoping to get a crack at some of their business.
Exactly.
But
Wow.
we've brought up upon the this new approach, which is really the old approach that is how Keller Williams and EXP grew to be so large, and that other businesses are also modeling and using effectively as well.
Well, that is fantastic. Well, you, with your extensive background in real estate, including your time at Keller Williams, and of course EXP, and now, of course, the mortgage end, beyond the financial incentives, what do you find are the biggest challenges in, I guess, retaining top performing agents and loan officers in today's competitive landscape, especially for a model like mortgage revenue share that relies on long term network growth?
Mortgagerevenueshare.com, people can go there and check it out, and there's a lot of information on there where they can get a good sense of this. The real challenge, I think, for so many real estate agents is that they're doing a lot of this work already and not
Mhm.
getting compensated at all. And so I think that they're probably leaving thousands of dollars per transaction on the table, and that's money that could pay bills, it could go into savings, or it could be reinvested into their own growth, helping them to expand their marketing,
I
helping them
agree.
to attract more consumers and just build some momentum, create some vortex of activity around it. And
100%.
so often there's just no reason at all to be loyal to one particular lender or to one particular mortgage company. Either they do a good job and you'll use them again, but somebody comes to you and they've already been pre-approved through, say, Rocket or through, their local bank or their private banking company, whatever that might be.
Okay.
There's no reason for a real estate agent to tell them, hey, you might want to shop it around. They almost don't want to ruffle those feathers.
Right.
The reality, though, is if that real estate agent had a relationship with a mortgage bank like Oak Tree Funding, which is the heart of mortgage revenue share,
Okay.
they would have an opportunity to actually get even closer to the transaction and understand even better where are we in terms of the approval process. Has the appraisal come back yet? Do
Right.
we know of any stipulations or conditions that need to be overcome?
Hmm.
The number one complaint I hear from real estate agents that I deal with is that they just don't hear much from their lender during the loan process. And why is that? Well, it's because those lenders are busy trying to find another deal.
That's
They're
right.
trying to create a relationship with another agent who can send them an opportunity. And with mortgage revenue share, we've sort of cracked the code so that loan originators can stay in their strength zone. Real estate agents can actually add even more value and be more fully informed of every step of the transaction and get paid for that as well. And it's lawfully compliant, it's RESPA compliant.
Fantastic.
It's just a really great solution. And I think it solves a lot of the challenges.
Well, that's good. And it sounds like an incredible opportunity for a lot of people to benefit from. What steps are you taking to market this idea, to get it out to the necessary individuals so they know what it's about and understand it and then take advantage of it?
It's so interesting, Shelley. So often we want to just start picking up the phone and calling people and telling them about this great opportunity.
Right.
But my wife, Lisa, her family owned a restaurant growing up. And so she worked in that restaurant, and it was a very popular restaurant near Sarasota, Florida. I waited tables in college, and it was a great way to get through college. And even a little bit after college, I was still waiting tables, and it was great money. I sort of see this in a similar way. Before we invite people to the restaurant, we want to make sure that the restaurant's going to work properly.
I got you. So you're in the
And,
formative stages. You're in the foundation of that, basically. So before you go out there telling everyone about it, you want to make sure everything's in place and it's going to run smoothly.
and we are at that point now.
That's great.
And so a lot of our effort has been spent on making certain that when real estate agents join us, when loan originators join us, they understand how this all works and how it's a huge benefit for both the loan originator and for the real estate agent. And yet, we had to sort of create the marketing, and then we had to
Right.
sort of create the onboarding, and then we had
Yes.
to sort of get it all to work together. And we
Right.
needed the reporting and the financial accounting of this. Since we're sharing revenue with the real estate agents who helped us grow, with the loan originators who are helping us grow, then all of the behind the scenes accounting needs to be transparent and clear down to the penny.
Oh, yeah.
And so we've built all that out. It's really remarkable. And when I show it to people, they're like, this is a no-brainer. Why would I say no? This makes
Exactly.
perfect sense.
It totally
And
makes
so
sense.
in terms of building it out, it's sort of like a new business, and yet it's not any longer a new business. We now have over 600 real estate agents and loan originators in the mortgage revenue share program, and it's going to grow very quickly. So our number one concern was we could handle the scale when it arrived.
Right, absolutely. That is definitely important. You don't want to crash, as they call it, right? Overload the system, and I understand that, and that's great. Now, this system that you created, is it something that you and your partners created itself, or is it something that basically you found out in the marketplace that would handle, the information?
So, a lot of the people who are involved in mortgage revenue share come from Keller Williams Realty or from EXP,
Right.
but not limited to those companies that are already using a seven-level model.
Okay.
Fathom Realty,
Yes.
LPT, Epic, these are all companies that have grown very aggressively through a seven-level revenue share or profit share model.
Right.
What we found, though, was that all those companies built their own proprietary in-house type of solution.
Right.
And of course, I'm still one of the top Keller Williams profit share earners. I'm a rev share earner at EXP Realty. We have people who are very high up in the infrastructure at Fathom Realty. They understand how all of this works. We built what we wanted from scratch.
Wow.
Now, the interesting thing is, when you're dealing with AI, when you're
Yes.
dealing with Claude code, you can
Yes.
build a lot of incredible stuff very quickly. The trick, though, is to get it to actually work.
Exactly. And to meld, as to merge, or to meld together, absolutely. Well, that's what we do. That's what we do, is
Yes.
a part of that. And we'll cover that, later. I'm not here to talk about me, but thank
But
you
you
for your input on
understand.
that. And that's,
Yeah.
at this point, I remembered in our pre-podcast chat that you had mentioned that a significant challenge that you faced all across your adventures, Realty Funding, more all in your past, even your own advertising for listing, is cutting through the noise, as you called it. Consumers are
Yeah.
constantly bombarded with messages, and standing out is tougher than ever. Now, can you elaborate on some of the specific ways that the noise impacts your ability to attract agents, loan officers, or even clients for your listings, and also for your opportunities in your business?
Well, as you know, and I know you've had a lot of experience both in the real estate and mortgage spaces, a lot of people are doing the same type of work that we're doing. What's interesting to me is how many people provide the service and don't realize that they need to run a second business, which is a marketing firm that advertises that they can provide this service. So you
Mhm.
have real estate agents out there, and of course, they care, they're honest, they're great communicators, they're aware of the local market. But in this day and age, that's almost table stakes. That's
Exactly.
almost like you can't get into the game with
Just having it.
just that.
That's correct. You have to
And so,
differentiate.
when we built out Realty Funnels, when we built out our own brand Real Lean, that we then have folded into EXP Realty, we used different approaches to be unique and different in a way that consumers said, that matters to me. That matters to how I do my transaction. That matters to what I will gain from working with this person, this company. Lisa and I, at some point, we will absolutely write this book. We've been talking about writing this book for a long time, but the book will be called The Best Option. And the question is, are you the best option? How
Gotcha.
do you be the best option? So just earlier today, I was having one of my weekly calls with one of my listing clients, and their property is sitting on the market here in the Seattle area. It's lingering a little bit longer than they would like. And we had been talking about this over the past few weeks, and they finally, you know, the old saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yes.
They are at a point now where they are out of the house, they've moved out of the house, they're no longer using the house, they're simply paying bills for this house, and they are ready to go ahead and get the price right so that consumers will get up off the couch and go
And
see
move.
that property.
Yes.
And so when you're selling a home, so, you know, for example, somebody who's listening to your podcast, Shelley, could be saying, well, I'm thinking about selling my home. Okay, your home needs to be the best option in the market.
Exactly.
If
Yes.
I may, I'll share with you the story of how Lisa and I mean, it's again, Lisa, the brain child of all the brilliant stuff we do. We were meeting with some clients years and years ago down in Treasure Island, Florida. So we have a team of agents in St. Petersburg, Florida, and another team of agents here in the Seattle, Washington area. And we just spend time traveling between the two areas where we love to enjoy our life. And so
Exactly.
this couple was selling their home in Treasure Island, Florida, and their home had been on the market for a few weeks and it hadn't sold and not really getting the activity they want. And so they asked us if we could come over to their home and sit down and talk about our marketing strategy. Well, of course, they're thinking that our marketing strategy is the reason that their home isn't selling.
Of course.
Lisa and I know that, you know, this, we don't have many of these conversations, but we know what this conversation is about.
Exactly.
So we're sitting at the dining room table with this husband and wife, and they're like, you know, the home's been on the market 27 days or 22 days or whatever it was, and it's not really selling. And we want to know, you know, what you're doing to get our home marketed, what you're doing to get our home sold. Now, of course, I have been sending them weekly updates on what we're doing to get their home marketed, and they're apparently not thinking that that was enough. And they said, what is it? What's happening? Why isn't our home sold yet? Why aren't we getting enough activity? Why aren't we getting showings? Why aren't we getting offers? So I'm a little too wonky, I think, at a very high level about all the intellectual stuff
Yes.
going on in the market. So I'm taking a deep breath because I'm about to start talking about supply and demand economics, interest rates, and number of homes on the market, buyer activity, buyer sentiment, what's happening, and all this type of stuff. So I'm about to take my deep breath and get going. And Lisa simply says, well, your home's not the best option yet.
Exactly. One sentence. It's one and done. I mean, you're like, wow. And that cut through
So I
everything.
bit my tongue. I just bit my tongue and I sat there, and the husband and wife are looking at each other and just taking this in.
Yes.
We're not the best option yet. And they turn to us and they say, what do we
What
need to be the best option?
exactly? They're going to ask the next question. What do we need to do to be the option, right?
And Lisa, who is coming from a background as a CPA,
Right.
where you sort of followed her guidance or you went to jail.
I hear you.
You know, the IRS isn't going to let you bend the rules a little bit. So she's not used to, you know, all these variations on how this could all go. It's like Lisa's way or the highway. So they say, you know, what do we need to do to get our home to be the best option? And Lisa says, well, when we first met with you, we talked about the dog smell, and it seems like the dog smell is still here. And then we talked about painting the front door because it's got a lot of scratches on the front door. And then we talked about, you know, the price, and you're hanging out there at that price we didn't really necessarily think was a smart place to start, but you wanted to start there so that you could have some wiggle room and
Exactly.
negotiate.
Right.
And so you really need to tackle those three things. And they're like, okay, well, We'll get the dog smell taken care of. I know you gave us a name of a cleaning company that could come in here and do a thorough vacuuming and cleaning and all that. And we'll paint the front door, which we had talked about but never did. And where do we need to be with the price? And Lisa just said, well, where we told you you would need to be was here, and
Right.
you had to do 50,000 above where we thought
Right.
you would be so that you'd have wiggle room, which how's that working for you? You really need to be back down
Wow.
here. So we walked out that door about 18 minutes after we arrived
Wow.
with a new price, with a commitment for the front door to get painted and the smell
Wow.
of the dog to be dissipated, and
Wow.
the contract in 4 days.
Wow. That is fantastic. It,
So
it,
I got in the car and I said to Lisa, that was just absolutely brilliant.
it, she just cut right through the mud, didn't she? That's
She
awesome.
did.
I love that story. And a lot of times, just being direct like that, just being honest and authentic and just telling them exactly what you really truly believe is the concern. Uh, you know, it is what it is, right? So that's a very interesting story. Now, what I wanted to do is with the mortgage revenue share that you're building, a network of agents and loan officers, what is the most time consuming or resource intensive aspect of attracting, onboarding, and supporting and these professionals within a 7-level revenue share model?
Well, now that we have everything built out to actually scale, which is something that we had to do at Keller Williams back in the day. It's
Right.
something that we had to do at Realty when we created our own brokerage. And now at EXP, that's a company that has been masterful about scaling and doing so virtually with,
Okay.
very limited brick and mortar.
Okay.
Same thing in this mortgage revenue share opportunity is we've set the table. We know we can scale. We know that we can get people in and everything is going to work exactly right. It's very exciting on that. So now it's really just a matter of having those conversations with real estate agents, with loan originators. And what we are finding is that the workaround, is that we go after the influencers, people who own a mortgage company, people who are they own a real estate brokerage. They're a huge team. And we just very quickly go through an analytic journey of how many transactions they did, how many of those were buy side, how many of those could you possibly have directed to a mortgage lender, and multiply that by the amount of money that they would earn on those transactions. And then they very quickly, their eyes are opened to the reality that they left $17,000 on the table
Okay.
last year. Or if you're dealing with a team leader, a managing broker, and they have this whole 7-tier model where they can very strategically bring on their top agents, who then bring on their team of agents, who then bring on their loan originators, who then bring on other teams of agents. We've solved the retention tool for real estate brokerages because we're making certain that those agents are more productive, earning more money on those buy side opportunities, and earning money on the people that they are introducing to mortgage revenue share. All of a sudden, those people have no reason to leave
I
that
got you.
company because they're making more money and they're making money for the influence and relationships that they already have. That changes the conversation for a lot of these mortgage brokers and these real estate brokers who are trying to figure out how do we help our people
Okay.
in a meaningful way.
Well, how are you attracting that influencer and setting up that initial get meeting or get together to divulge all this amazing information?
So we're just leaning on the relationships that we already have. And like you, we've been in this space for a long time. But even
Mhm.
somebody who is relatively new to either mortgage lending or to residential real estate, they have a lot of relationships already.
Okay.
And, you know, it's not wrong to say that you're making money off of leveraging those relationships. It's
Oh,
exactly how anybody builds a business worth building.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And so, if you can help a real estate agent make more money by doing the same things that they're already doing, just simply creating a pathway for them to get paid for those things,
Hmm.
all of a sudden you're changing how they look at their business for the year. And
Okay.
so, really, when we go after the biggest influencers, we find that we very quickly grow because they're bringing along their tribe.
I got you. I understand. So initially, that's the goal, is to tap into that influencers network, so to speak. So
Absolutely.
I understand that right there. So you also, when we were in the pre-podcast, you mentioned that you were, I guess, described as an exit stage with some of your current businesses. You're focusing on building the system, right, for passive income, right? So this pursuit of efficiency and stability is key. Where do you find the biggest bottlenecks, or some maybe time consuming tasks in the process of attracting, onboarding talent for new ventures like the mortgage revenue share?
It's so interesting. I love these questions, Shelley, because I just geek out on all this type of stuff. Because to me, this is all really about leadership,
It
isn't it?
is. Yes.
And it's so the question of leadership, it to me is, are you taking people somewhere they want to go? Are
Okay.
you guiding them on a journey that they already want to take? And so as a leader, and I have always considered myself a leader, and not in any vanity kind of way, but I
Right.
just really feel like if you're helping enough people, you're going to get everything you want out of life. I
That's
think it was
true.
Zig Ziglar who said
Yes.
it most
Oh, yes.
appropriately. You can get everything you want out of life if only you're willing to help enough other people get what they want
That is
out
so
of life.
true. Absolutely. 100%.
And so for me, when I look at this opportunity to, for me, growing passive income has been sort of a lifelong pursuit from when I
Oh,
was, you know, it wasn't passive income as a paper boy to get my buddies to help me with the paper route.
right.
Let's say I made $7 a day on my paper route, and I had one buddy and I paid him $2 a day, and I cut my time in half.
Makes sense.
And he was delighted to get the $2.
Of
He didn't have
course.
to go out and pay the bills. He didn't have to go out and deal with
Right.
the customers and collecting the money. And so for him, it was a win-win. But for me, it
Absolutely.
was like, this is a way that I can get this hour job done in 30
Sure.
minutes, plus have fun with my friend. And my friend knew how to do the paper out when I would travel. It's
Right.
just the thing now. How do I create passive income? And so when I was 21, I got into an investment property, a duplex in Shaker Heights, Ohio. All of a sudden, there's a passive income stream.
Right.
Then I got into Keller Williams Realty, and I realized that's another passive income stream. Now, I left Keller Williams in 2011. I still get passive
I was going to
income.
ask that question. I didn't know whether or not that book followed you or whether it stayed with them, because a lot of places that's kind of the breaking point. If you leave, they get to keep it. So that's exciting to know. I'm thrilled to know that they did that.
Yeah, in fact, it was a very smart thing that Gary Keller did. And I think Gary Keller is one of the most visionary people in residential real
Wow.
estate. And of course, he recognized that we're creating a life-changing opportunity for real estate agents and their families.
Mm-hmm.
And, for many people, one spouse or one partner might be out doing the actual work, but it's supporting the whole family,
Right.
and the other partner in the relationship is supporting that person while they're out there in the trenches getting the work
Mm-hmm.
done. And
Mm-hmm.
so same thing with mortgage revenue share. It's mission critical that we have a beneficiary opportunity, because we're going to grow, because people are going to invest their relationships, their
Yes.
social capital,
Yes.
and their time and their energy. And so we want to make certain that we can grow that in a long-term and meaningful way for themselves and their families.
Yes.
One of my friends at eXp Realty, who got in early and who did an enormous amount of work in the early days of eXp, he says, I don't ever need to work again My children will never need to work, and
Oh,
my grandchildren will never need to work. Now, of course, they'll work,
right.
but what a safety net
What
that
a
is.
legacy.
Yes.
I love that. It sounds like you're constantly looking for ways to create impact and build a legacy, often by finding innovative solutions to existing problems. Now, considering the challenge of cutting through the noise, as you said,
Yeah.
and optimizing for, passive income, what's your perspective on how advanced automation such as AI might transform these aspects of the real estate and mortgage industry in the coming years?
Well, I have a very straightforward approach to AI, and I love AI, and I've been using AI for long before ChatGPT ever came onto the scene.
Me too.
ChatGPT is just a large language model.
Right,
Okay, that's
right.
one type of artificial
Yes,
intelligence, but there are many others. But I look at it in a very clean use of my time type of question.
absolutely.
What is the highest and best use of my time? What am
Mhm.
I God given, uniquely able to do that only I can do? What do I have to do in order to be in my strength zone? Can
Right.
I delegate that? Can I automate that?
Yes,
What can I take off of my shoulders by putting it on somebody else's shoulders who has that as their strength zone?
exactly.
Or what is it that I need to do more than once the exact same way with robotic precision?
Right.
Okay, then let me build an AI workflow, an automation, a chatbot, some type of AI powered tool
Yes,
to do what needs to be done more than once the exact same way with robotic precision. Because
absolutely.
if it qualifies for that, then I don't need to be the one doing it. I just need to have a system that makes certain it gets done. And I'll share with you
100%.
a fascinating little example of that.
Okay.
So, in Realty Funnels, the software system that we've built to help real estate agents, in essence, do more in less time, stay in their strength zone, we have a very simple automation, which is let us know when your closing date will be, and then here are the communications that need to go out at set times prior to the closing, including 1 week before closing an email goes out to the home seller. Now, we overwhelmingly work with home sellers, but
Right.
also goes out to the home buyer as needed, which is 1 week from closing. Here are all the utility companies. Be sure to contact them, get the utilities set up in your name, effective on the closing date, and have the service transfer without interruption. And we tell them, tell the utility company you want the water, the electricity, you want these things transferred without interruption, effective on the closing date. Now that just goes out, and I know it goes out because I
Right.
have it copy me,
Got you.
so I know it went out.
Right.
But I didn't have to send it out. I built that one letter one time, put all the contact information for all the local utility companies. Now, if they're a seller, they know which one is which. If they're a buyer, I tell them based on this zip code or this city or this region or this county, this is your set of. It goes out. But how often do I hear from a buyer's agent? It's the closing day, they're doing a final walkthrough, and the power's not on.
Exactly. Solved a problem with one little AI, innovative little robot, little bot, whatever we call it, So that is incredible. And I love that. That's now we do that on a larger scale, for real estate brokerages throughout the United States, and really help really amplify their their needs, making sure that we satisfy what they're needing, okay, and making sure that they're satisfied 100%. So your insights today have been very valuable, and it's clear that you are a forefront of innovation in real estate, Kevin. As you know, my company, as I mentioned, AI Growth Partners, that's what we specialize in. And given your vision for passive income, your focus on cutting through the noise, and your interest in building scalable systems, I believe there could be a strong alignment alignment. Now, would you be open to maybe a brief follow-up, conversation after the podcast to explore to
Of
see,
course.
if we would be tailored and if there's something that we could, do that would really enhance what you're trying to accomplish, and of course make it cost effective and ROI on everything, right?
Of course, I'd welcome that, and it would be a natural progression from this conversation. In essence, this is how actual business relationships are born. You have these conversations and you find
Yes,
opportunities to support each other and find
absolutely.
that mutual goal. And I would absolutely welcome that. And I would
Well,
also encourage anybody listening to reach out to Shelley and just talk with her about this, because if you're spending any of the time of your day in one of those things that is not uniquely your space,
correct.
you're really just doing a disservice to yourself and your family for all the opportunity that you can have to grow,
It's
to
true.
earn more money in less time, but then also to, in essence, buy back your time and spend more time with family and doing those things that you can't hire AI to do. You
This
can't
is true.
you can't hire AI to be, spiritual for you. You can't hire AI to eat right for you. You can't
Mhm.
hire AI to go to the gym and
Right.
exercise and even just get out and walk and enjoy nature for you.
Exactly.
But the right technology and the right technology partners can help you buy back that time.
Well, that is very, very thoughtful of you, and I appreciate that. And really, like you, Kevin, I can see you're extremely authentic about helping people. And AI, people have different opinions about it, but and I initially had kind of a little bit of a I wouldn't say concerned, but I would just say a little leery based on what people were saying and stuff. But as soon as I saw how it benefited me and how it saved me time and just took so much off my shoulders in business, I said, this is definitely something that can help people.
That'd be great.
Well, again, everyone, let me just go ahead and wrap this up, and just want to thank you all for joining us for this podcast. I hope you were able to gain as much insight as I did today. And be sure to check out Kevin's work with Realty Funnels and Mortgage Revenue Share. We will see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you have a good enjoy the rest of your day, Kevin.
Thanks. It was a fun conversation. I
Thank you
enjoyed it.
so much. I appreciate that very much. And I look forward to talking to you again soon. And
Very good. We'll see
tell
you
your
then.
wife I said hello.
Will do. Thank you.
Bye bye.